I think a professor should be able to lecture coherently but also be flexible. A lot of professors, doesn't matter how long they've taught here, but as long as they have either a refined speech or are just really adaptable to the situation and can tell personal experience, different things and relate it to what's going on today.
Like more approachable or easy to talk to, easy to understand.
I visit office hours whenever I feel that they're approachable.
For someone that's fair in like all aspects of their teaching.
They want to engage the students, so they're not just lecturing at us. They also sort of question us and try to, just stir up our emotions or whatever reactions we have. And also, I really appreciate a professor with a good sense of humor.
Enthusiasm is really important, especially if, it's a topic that has the potential to be kind of dry. If a professor is enthusiastic, it really, catches you in.
For the most part, look for a professor that's they're patient, someone that's willing to listen to what you have to say, and if for some reason you don't understand the material, they're willing to take the time to sit with you and find another way to make you understand.
I think even though it's a big university, you can always have a personal experience with the professors. I think the quality of teaching is much better. And I think that they're accessible, but only if you want them to be.
Then veil your stomachs, for it is no boot, and place your hands below your husband's foot. In token of which duty, if you please, my hand is ready, make it do in ease. This is the climax of the play, one of the most problematic speeches, I think, in all of Shakespeare for actresses to deliver to 21st century audiences. Studied for my undergraduate degree at a school called Washington University in St. Louis, which is very confusing because most people think I'm dyslexic when I mention that to them, as I ended up coming to the University of Washington for graduate school. Yes, and I spent my junior year abroad at Oxford University. I studied there with Ralph Hanna, who's one of the leading Chaucerians on the planet. He basically has the J.R.R. Tolkien chair at Oxford, the one that used to be occupied by the author of The Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
And I also studied with a man named Frank Romany, who edited the Penguin edition of Christopher Marlowe. So they were big influences on my teaching style and my understanding of British literature.
Yeah, he presents it really well. He knows his stuff.
And he's interested in it,
yeah,
so it makes you interested. Approachability.
Good.
He's definitely
he's
approachable.
Yeah, he's way more approachable than other teachers, and professors who, sometimes, but I feel like they're higher than me. I consider him more of an equal, and it's cool to be able just to go talk to him.
I think in part that's a side effect of the fact I'm so close to being a student myself. I was an undergraduate just 10, 12 years ago, so I really remember what that experience was like, and the professors who did seem affable and approachable are the ones I really felt I had some sort of bond with, and I took the most from their classes. So I try to provide that for my students too, to be this sort of prof who they can sit down and talk with about academics and about their personal life if need be. And when you have that kind of rapport, I think it creates a situation where real learning can occur, right? Where students are attentive and engaged and showing up to class every day, really ready to absorb this material and then clinging to every syllable because they feel like there's a real build-up, there's a real rapport that's been established between the faculty and the student. So.
Yeah, he's really approachable.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times it seems like he's searching for words, which I love.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he hasn't recited his lectures, it feels like.
Yeah. It's like he's kind of making it up as he goes. Like he has main points, but he just kind of goes on.
Because I'm actually incorporating some computer technology in my classroom. I'm going to be showing students an excerpt of an actor reciting the first 18 lines of the general prologue of the Canterbury Tales. And the YouTube clip has a phonetic transcription of the lines being read aloud so students can read them along with the speaker. So, although my previous comment, I was very adamant about preserving some contact with our verbal culture, our verbal-oriented culture, I am also very receptive to using film and computer technology in my classroom, and I've had students give PowerPoint presentations, and as I just said, I'm also experimenting with using YouTube. It's a bit daunting, I feel, to lecture in front of a classroom of 80 students, because it's more of a one-way transmission where the professor speaks and the students listen passively and scribble down notes. I like the smaller setting because there's much more give and take, there's more interaction, and there's more opportunity for the students to share their opinions. So I tend to favor that.
This is the only class that I've had that is actually like a lot of people participate willingly and enjoy the discussion and actually get a lot out of the class.
Perhaps I have a slight advantage over other professors, say in the math and sciences, in that Shakespeare itself is naturally dramatic. So when you're teaching this material, it inevitably turns the classroom into a stage itself, right? So there's a performative quality to teaching, which I actually relish. I don't have any training as an actor myself. I played a messenger in a production of Much Ado About Nothing back when I was in college, and I had 2 lines. But when I am teaching, I do think of it as, in some ways, stepping onto a stage in a bit. That I want students not just to read the lines on the page, but actually to visualize them being performed, and all of the nuances, the ironies, the subtle meanings that can be conveyed through a performance when the text is read with feeling. I think it really brings the material to life, and that's something I try to do. And whether there's 5 people listening or 500. I'm comfortable with the material at this point. The hardest thing for me is to teach to students at different levels. Some students have a lot more exposure to Shakespeare, have a lot higher comfort level with literature. Some students, however, have never taken an English class before in their life, or haven't studied the material since they were 14 in their sophomore year of high school. So to be able to speak to everyone more or less equally is for me the hardest part. And again, dividing the class up into smaller groups is one way to get around that, so students who are more advanced can help out with the students who haven't had as much opportunity to study the material before. So that's the toughest part. Not talking over the heads of students who might be struggling a bit, but also not dumbing it down for students who are fairly comfortable and don't need a plot summary. So finding the right balance between those two is a challenge, but it's something I'm working on, and I think I'm getting close to.
Yeah. Some of the professors that I've had, I don't know, I guess I'm just intimidated because they've had big research accomplishments and different things, and I don't really know what I would have to talk about, even if I just had a question.
Worst experience I've had are the ones I'm most intimidated for. They use their research as as a weapon.
Probably also a little bit intimidated, just because it seems easier to go talk to the TA or something like that.
Depending on the professor, I'm a little intimidated by them sometimes if they're not the most warm kind of person.
One of the unfortunate side effects of a research institute that you do have some professors who get so bogged down in their research, or so obsessed with their research, that they forget why they became teachers in the first place. For me, that teaching is always paramount. That comes first. So research takes a backseat to that, because professors sometimes forget. Maybe 10 or 20 people in their field, other specialists, are going to be reading that material, but when you can communicate with a student in the classroom, it's so immediate, right? There's that immediacy to the classroom that I find very gratifying. And when I feel like I'm in good form and the students are attentive and not sleep deprived, there are moments where I see smiles spreading across students' faces, or sort of a eureka moment as their eyes widen and they realize just how intricately constructed and complex a bit of Shakespearean drama really is, and that's also very rewarding.
Well, he does know his stuff. There's tons of stuff about Shakespeare that I've read it before, but I've never caught it, and he points it out, and now I can't watch anything
Seriously, like,
without being like, oh my god, that's a reference to Shakespeare.
I find references in Shakespeare now, like in everything because of him, and I can't like stop, and it's cool.
Or watching films and going, that's not accurate.
That's very thrilling for an instructor to have that recognition that you've touched a student's life in a way that's going to stay with them for years to come, and I think any professor would enjoy hearing that.
I just kind of look to see how other students liked the professor, because that's like a big thing for me. Like if other students like them, I'm most likely going to like them as well.
Awesome. It's like they actually care about you learning the material versus just another student paying the bills.
In high school, you are given opportunities. In college, you have to take them.